It was a still Tuesday evening, the sort of night that felt heavy without reason, an invisible pressure thick enough to make the air difficult to breathe. I sat alone in the living room, whiskey swirling lazily in my glass, the amber liquid catching and bending the lamplight as my gaze lingered on nothing in particular. That's when Lauren came in. She moved faster than usual, almost as if something unseen was chasing her. Her coat hung awkwardly off one shoulder, and her fingers fidgeted around the clasp of her purse. But it wasn't her hurried movements that struck me. It was the smell. A bold, musky cologne lingered on her like an uninvited shadow. It wasn't mine. It was familiar in a way that made my gut twist. Deep, masculine, far too close to her skin to be innocent. My stomach churned, but I kept my face unreadable. I wasn't ready for her to know I'd noticed. "Hey, babe," I said with practiced ease, swirling the whiskey slowly, my voice calm, almost warm. "How was your day?" She hesitated for barely a breath before forcing a bright smile onto her face. "Oh, meetings, errands, the usual." Her voice was too lively, like she'd rehearsed it, polished it until it sounded safe. I lifted my glass, took a measured sip, and smiled faintly. "Meet anyone interesting?" Her eyes gave her away, just for a split second, and she shook her head a little too quickly. "Nope. Same people as always. Nothing exciting." I nodded as though nothing were wrong, my expression the picture of an unsuspecting husband. Inside, though, the ground beneath me was already splitting open. Later, I sat on the edge of our bed alone, my hands gripping the mattress while I stared at the floor. The truth settled in slowly, burning as it took hold. Lauren was unfaithful. For the next 2 days, I observed her quietly. Every detail I'd once dismissed became sharp and undeniable. The late-night work meetings stretching past midnight, the sudden fixation on her appearance, the way she guarded her phone like it contained state secrets. She thought I wasn't paying attention. She thought I'd never see the pattern. But I was watching now, and I wouldn't stop until I had every piece of proof. On the second night, while she showered, I unlocked her phone. The passcode came to me easily. I'd memorized it long ago. My chest felt tight as I scrolled, but it didn't take long to find him. Mark. Message after message, starting playful and quickly turning graphic. Explicit words and images she hadn't shared with me in months. The proof was undeniable. I placed the phone down with trembling hands. The betrayal was no longer a suspicion. It was fact. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. That night, lying beside her in the dark, I stared at the ceiling while a plan began forming. Calculated, deliberate. I didn't want shouting or accusations. I wanted justice. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions pressing down until she broke. The next morning, I called in sick and spent the day collecting evidence. Every text, every picture, every record of her calls. I backed it all up. Then I hired a private investigator to track her and her lover. Photographs of kisses, hotel visits, and stolen hours all neatly documented. Once I had the truth secured, I turned to our finances. Lauren had no idea I'd always been the one quietly managing every dollar. I knew exactly where everything was, what could be moved, what couldn't. Over the span of a week, I drained our joint account methodically, transferring the majority into one solely in my name. I cancelled her credit cards. She wouldn't realize the damage until it was irreversible. While dismantling her safety net, I played the part of the doting husband. Flowers. Takeout from her favorite restaurant. Plans for a surprise weekend getaway. At first, suspicion flickered in her eyes, but soon it melted away. She believed she'd won. She thought I was desperate to win her back. She had no idea. The cabin I booked for the trip was deep in the woods, quiet, secluded. She called it romantic. I knew it was the perfect place for what had to happen. That night, I made her favorite meal, poured her wine, drew her into laughter. We reminisced about our first years together, our travels, our shared dreams. I let her relax, let her believe the illusion. Then, in a voice as casual as if asking about the weather, I asked, "So, Lauren, How long have you been sleeping with Mark? The wine glass stopped midair. Her face drained of color. I don't know what you mean, she stammered. I slid my phone across the table. Her own messages filled the screen. I watched the moment her world fractured, her lips parting, her hands trembling. It's not what it looks like, she whispered. Don't lie to me, I replied, my voice cold, stripped of anything human. I know everything. Tears came quickly. She reached across the table, pleading. She called it a mistake, said it meant nothing, said she still loved me. I stood. Love doesn't hide in hotel rooms. Love doesn't wear another man's cologne. Whatever this was, it wasn't love. She tried to touch me. I stepped back. You're going to sign the divorce papers, I told her. And you'll do it quietly. If you fight me, I'll make sure everyone sees this. Her sobbing stopped. Fear filled her eyes. She knew I wasn't bluffing. Weeks later, it was over. The divorce went through fast. She walked away with almost nothing. The apartment sold, accounts empty. As for Mark, he had a wife of his own, and she was as merciless as I was. Together, we tore apart every lie he'd built. Months passed. I moved to a new city, started a new job, rebuilt my life. Sometimes her betrayal whispered through my thoughts, but its voice grew fainter with time. Lauren reached out once, wanting to talk, to apologize, to see if anything could be salvaged. I didn't respond. Some doors, once closed, should never be opened again. In the end, I wasn't the one begging. She was. And for the first time in years, I felt free.